Under the scorching Arabian sun, beyond the towering minarets of Mecca, stands a structure that has defied time itself. Draped in black silk and gold, it is neither a palace nor a fortress, yet it commands the devotion of millions. It is older than empires, more sacred than any monument, and at its core lies a mystery that has captivated the world for centuries. This is the Kaaba, the beating heart of Islam, the direction toward which 1 billion souls turn in prayer, the center of a pilgrimage that has drawn seekers of faith for over 1,000 years. But beneath its solemn beauty and undeniable presence lies a history filled with secrets, resilience, and divine intervention. The Kaaba has been built, destroyed, and rebuilt. It has survived floods, fires, and invasions. It has been the epicenter of miracles and the target of those who sought to bring it down. Its origins stretch beyond recorded history, tied to prophets, celestial relics, and a sacred lineage that connects the past to the present. What makes this ancient cube so powerful? What mysteries lie within its walls, and what stories have been carved into its very foundation? From the black stone believed to have descended from paradise to the divine moment when the world's direction of prayer shifted forever. The history of the Kaaba is anything but ordinary. Step closer and uncover the secrets of Islam's most revered sanctuary, the sacred structure that has withstood the test of time, carrying the prayers, hopes, and faith of millions across generations. The Kaaba, standing at the heart of Mecca, is more than just a structure. It is the very soul of Islamic devotion, a place that has witnessed centuries of faith, unity, and divine reverence. Encased in black silk embroidered with gold, this sacred cube draws millions of believers every year, their eyes filled with tears, their hearts trembling with awe. To the world, it is an architectural marvel. To Muslims, it is the house of God, the axis around which their prayers and lives revolve. For over a millennium, the Kaaba has remained the singular point toward which every Muslim turns, no matter where they are on earth. From the bustling streets of New York to the quiet villages of Indonesia, 1 billion people align themselves 5 times a day, facing this ancient sanctuary in unwavering devotion. It is more than a direction. It is a reminder, an anchor, a connection between the soul and the divine. Legends whisper that its origins trace back to the very dawn of monotheism, built by the hands of Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail at the command of God. But its history runs deeper, through the sands of time, through conquest, destruction, and rebirth. It has endured storms, sieges, and centuries of transformation, yet it stands unshaken, a testament to faith's resilience. To step into the sacred mosque that houses it is to feel the weight of centuries pressing upon you. The air hums with the prayers of millions. The footsteps of pilgrims echo against the marble, and the sight of the Kaaba itself stops hearts. It is a place where heaven feels closer, where history breathes, and where faith takes physical form. It is not merely a structure, it is the beating heart of Islam. Long before the towering skyscrapers of Mecca, before the waves of pilgrims flooded its sacred grounds, the Kaaba stood as a lone sentinel in the vast desert, a beacon of divine presence. Its origins whisper through the winds of time, carrying stories that stretch beyond recorded history. According to Islamic tradition, this revered sanctuary was not built by human ambition or the desires of kings, but by the hands of prophets, guided by the will of God himself. The story begins with Ibrahim, a man chosen to spread the message of pure monotheism, a prophet whose unwavering faith would shape generations to come. Alongside his son Ismail, he undertook a task that would bind heaven and earth forever. Beneath the scorching Arabian sun, father and son toiled, lifting stone upon stone, their hands carving a sanctuary meant for the worship of the one true God. With every block they placed, they whispered prayers, consecrating the structure not in their name, but in the name of Allah, the Almighty. When the last stone was set, a divine command resonated through the air. This was to be a place of worship, a house of prayer for all of mankind. But the Kaaba's story does not begin here. Some accounts suggest that this was not its first construction. Ancient traditions speak of an even earlier Kaaba, a celestial house that mirrored one in the heavens, a structure built by angels before time itself took shape. Others believe that the Kaaba existed in some form long before Ibrahim, its presence rooted in antiquity, its sanctity unshaken through the ages. Over the centuries, the Kaaba would endure, tribes would come and go, faiths would rise and fall, and yet the structure remained. Before the advent of Islam, it became a center of trade and tribal worship, home to hundreds of idols placed there by pagan clans. But even in this era of distortion, it held a power that could not be ignored. The sacred air around it hummed with something ancient, something eternal, waiting for the moment when it would once again be purified and restored to its rightful place as the heart of monotheism. When Prophet Muhammad, centuries later, would cleanse it of false gods and restore it as the house of Allah, it would mark not the beginning of its holiness, but its return to the purpose for which it was always destined. In the heart of Mecca, standing in quiet defiance against time itself, the Kaaba rises, a structure so simple, yet so profound. A cube of black and gold, it commands the gaze of millions, its presence both humbling and awe-inspiring. To the untrained eye, it may seem unassuming, a mere stone building in an ocean of worshippers. But to those who understand its significance, every inch of its design carries meaning, every element whispering a story of faith and devotion. Built from the resilient granite of the Arabian Peninsula, the Kaaba's walls have been shaped and reshaped by the hands of history. It stands approximately 50 feet high, its base measuring about 35 feet wide, a near-perfect cube that serves as the spiritual axis of the Muslim world. Wrapped in the flowing elegance of the kiswa, a black silk and gold curtain that is replaced each year, it exudes an air of majesty. The golden embroidery adorning its surface bears verses from the Quran, a shimmering declaration of the divine words that guide those who bow before it. At its eastern corner lies a mystery that has mesmerized believers for centuries, the black stone, a relic believed to have descended from the heavens itself. Smooth and dark, it is encased in silver, kissed and touched by millions who seek a moment of connection with the sacred. Some say it was once pure white, but as it absorbed the sins of those who touched it, it darkened, bearing silent witness to the faith of generations. A single door, elevated above the ground, offers the only entrance. It is rarely opened, reserved for moments of deep significance when the interior is cleansed and honored. Above, a golden spout, the Mayazab, juts from the roof, allowing rainwater to cascade down, a celestial touch to an earthly marvel. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of the Kaaba is not in its stone or cloth, not in its gold or structure, but in what it represents. It is the physical heart of Islamic devotion, the point around which the faithful revolve, their prayers converging toward this singular point. Simple yet divine, unyielding yet welcoming. It stands as a reminder that in the vastness of existence, faith has a home, and God's presence has a place on earth. Nestled within the eastern corner of the Kaaba, encased in a silver frame, lies an object shrouded in mystery and reverence, the black stone. It is no ordinary rock. It is a relic that has captivated hearts, stirred the imaginations of scholars, and drawn the lips of millions who seek its blessings. For centuries, believers have reached for it, longing for a fleeting touch, a moment of connection with something beyond this world. To them, it is more than stone. It is a symbol of the divine, a fragment of heaven resting on earth. Legends whisper that it was once pure white, a celestial gift sent from the heavens, bestowed upon Prophet Ibrahim by the angel Jibril. It is said that the sins of mankind, the weight of human transgression, darkened its surface over time, leaving it as it is now, smooth and black, marked by the touch of generations. Some believe it is not of this world at all, a remnant of paradise that fell from the sky, a meteorite carrying divine purpose. Others suggest that it is an ancient symbol, tied to a tradition even older than recorded history. Touching the black stone has become an act of devotion, a moment of unparalleled significance during the pilgrimage. Pilgrims reach out, stretching their hands as they move around the Kaaba, yearning to place their lips upon its smooth surface, as the Prophet Muhammad once did. Those unable to reach it raise their hands toward it in acknowledgement, knowing that the power it holds is not in its physical form, but in what it represents, the mercy and presence of God. Yet time has taken its toll. The black stone is no longer a single unbroken piece. It has fractured, its fragments carefully held together by the silver casing that protects it. But still, it remains. It has endured centuries, seen empires rise and fall, witnessed the prayers of prophets and ordinary souls alike. Wars have raged around it, invaders have sought to steal it, yet it has always found its way back, standing firm within the Kaaba's embrace. It is a mystery that may never be unraveled, a relic that may never reveal all of its secrets. But for the faithful, the black stone is more than an object. It is a sacred touchpoint between the earthly and the divine, a silent witness to the endless devotion of those who walk the path of faith. In the earliest days of Islam, when the fledgling Muslim community gathered in quiet devotion, their prayers turned not toward the Kaaba, but to a city far to the north, Jerusalem. It was the first Qibla, the original direction of prayer, linking Islam with the prophets of old. For years, the faithful aligned themselves with this sacred place, their hearts drawn to its history, their souls anchored in its spiritual legacy. But then, in a moment that would change the course of worship forever, the heavens decreed a shift. It happened in Medina, in the midst of prayer, as the Prophet Muhammad led his followers in worship. Midway through their sacred recitations, a divine revelation descended upon him, carrying a command that would forever redefine their connection to the divine. Turn toward the Kaaba. Without hesitation, he changed direction, and behind him, his followers pivoted as well, their feet moving, but their faith unwavering. In that instant, the Qibla, once set toward Jerusalem, was now forever fixed upon Mecca, upon the very house that Ibrahim and Ismail had built as the first sanctuary of monotheism. This shift was more than just a change in physical orientation. It was a declaration of the spiritual identity of Islam, a signal that the final message had come, completing the legacy of the prophets before. The Kaaba was no longer just a structure of stone, no longer a historical relic. It was now the eternal focal point of worship, the beating heart of faith itself. From that moment onward, no matter where a Muslim stands in the world, whether in the vast deserts of Arabia or the bustling streets of distant lands, they turn toward the Kaaba, a silent yet powerful testament to the day when the Qibla changed, and with it, the destiny of an entire faith. Beneath the golden glow of the Meccan sun, amidst the endless sea of white-robed pilgrims, the Kaaba stands at the center of a sacred choreography that has been performed for centuries. It is a ritual unlike any other, a journey of the soul wrapped in motion, where every step, every prayer, every whispered supplication carries echoes of the prophets who walked this path before. As the faithful enter the sacred mosque, their eyes lift to the Kaaba, and time itself seems to slow. Hearts quicken, tears flow, and an overwhelming sense of purpose washes over them. Then the movement begins. Like a celestial dance, they circle the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise motion, mirroring the orbits of the stars, the rotation of planets, the divine rhythm that pulses through the universe itself. This is Tawaf, an act of devotion that binds every pilgrim to the millions who have walked before them and the countless who will follow. For those who reach its eastern corner, another moment of profound significance awaits. The black stone, dark and smooth, waits silently, kissed by the lips of history itself. Those fortunate enough to touch it press their hands against its surface, feeling the weight of generations in its cold embrace. Others raise their hands in reverence, knowing that even a glance upon it carries its own reward. The journey continues. Behind the Kaaba, nestled within a crescent-shaped wall, lies the Hijr Ismail, a space said to have been part of the original foundation built by Ibrahim and Ismail. To pray here is to stand within the footprints of prophecy, a place of whispered wishes and solemn invocations. Then comes the moment of reflection at Maqam Ibrahim, the station of Abraham, where a glass enclosure protects a sacred stone, one that bears the imprint of the Prophet's feet as he built the Kaaba with his son. Pilgrims pause here, praying with the knowledge that they stand where one of God's greatest messengers once stood, his faith as solid as the stone itself. As their journey nears its end, they move between the hills of Safa and Marwa, retracing the desperate footsteps of Hajar as she searched for water for her infant son, Ismail. 7 times they walk, echoing her struggle, her faith, her unwavering trust in God's mercy. Every step, every touch, every prayer is a piece of a greater story, a ritual that has transcended time, carrying the hopes, sins, and dreams of generations into the presence of the divine. The Kaaba has stood for centuries, its dark walls bearing witness to prayers, tears, and unwavering devotion. But its history is not without scars. It has been shaken by war, shattered by attacks, and worn down by time. Yet it has always risen again, defying destruction, standing resilient against the trials of history. One of the earliest and most infamous attempts to destroy the Kaaba came from Abraha, the ruler of Yemen, who led an army of war elephants toward Mecca, determined to bring down its sacred walls. But as they advanced, a divine force intervened. The sky darkened, and flocks of birds rained down stones upon the invaders, crushing their army before they could lay a hand on the Kaaba. It was a moment etched into history, a testament to the Kaaba's divine protection. Centuries later, a more devastating event unfolded. In 683 CE, during a siege by Umayyad forces, the Kaaba was struck by catapult fire, its walls crumbling, its sacred black stone shattered into pieces. Flames licked the silk of the Kiswa, and for a moment, it seemed as though the holiest site in Islam might be lost. But faith endured. The Kaaba was rebuilt, stone by stone, its sacred foundation restored. But the trials did not end there. In 930 CE, the Sarmatians, a radical sect, launched one of the most brazen attacks in history. Storming into Mecca, they slaughtered pilgrims, desecrated the sacred mosque, and, in an act of unthinkable sacrilege, stole the black stone itself. For over 2 decades, the Kaaba stood incomplete, waiting for its missing heart to be returned. When it was finally restored, the stone was fractured, its unity forever broken, but its holiness remained untouched. Even natural disasters have not spared it. Floods have swept through Mecca, submerging the Kaaba in water, and yet it has stood firm. Over the centuries, rulers and caliphs have reconstructed its walls, reinforced its foundations, and ensured that it remains unshaken, a symbol of endurance against the relentless march of time. Through fire and siege, theft and flood, the Kaaba has survived it all. No matter how many times it has fallen, it has always risen again, its presence unbreakable, its significance eternal. It is not just a building, it is a testament to faith's resilience, a sacred monument that refuses to be erased. In a world divided by borders, beliefs, and differences, the Kaaba stands as a singular force that unites millions. It does not belong to one nation, one race, or one culture. It belongs to all who bow before it, to every voice that whispers a prayer in its direction, to every heart that beats with the rhythm of faith. No matter where a Muslim stands, on the frozen tundras of Siberia, in the towering skyscrapers of New York, or the golden deserts of Arabia, every prayer, every sujood turns toward this sacred house. It is more than a place. It is the beating heart of a global faith, a symbol of oneness in a world too often fractured by division. Here, kings and paupers stand shoulder to shoulder, their status stripped away in the presence of something greater than themselves. Wealth, power, language, none of it matters before the Kaaba. When millions flood the courtyard during Hajj, moving in perfect harmony, it is as if the world itself has found a moment of peace, an unspoken promise that for all of our differences, faith binds us together. From the moment the Qibla was set toward Mecca, the Kaaba became more than stone and silk. It became a direction, a purpose, a tether between the earthly and the divine. It is the common ground upon which a billion voices rise in prayer, the silent witness to the unity of an ummah that spans continents and centuries. Empires have risen and fallen, borders have shifted, languages have changed. But the Kaaba remains, standing steadfast, whispering a simple but powerful truth. Before God, we are one. Twice a year, in a ceremony unseen by most of the world, the doors of the Kaaba open. What lies beyond them is a mystery to many, a sacred interior that only a chosen few are permitted to enter. Inside, silence reigns, broken only by the whispers of prayer and the quiet movements of those honored with the task of tending to the house of God. This is not just maintenance, it is a ritual, a moment of reverence where history, devotion, and duty converge. The cleansing of the Kaaba is a tradition as old as Islam itself, carried out by a select group of dignitaries, scholars, and caretakers. As the doors swing open, they step inside, their hands carrying buckets of Zamzam water mixed with rose and oud essence. With white cloths, they gently wipe the sacred walls, their movements deliberate, their hearts heavy with the weight of responsibility. Every stroke is a prayer, every drop of water a symbol of renewal. Outside, thousands gather, watching from a distance, knowing that what they are witnessing is not just an act of physical purification, but a reaffirmation of faith itself. The Kaaba's black silk kiswa, woven with golden calligraphy, is replaced once a year in a moment of solemn beauty. Each new covering is a gift, a mark of devotion from the hands that create it to the millions who will see it in awe. Despite the centuries, despite the changing world around it, the Kaaba remains untouched by time. Its walls may be cleaned, its covering replaced, but its essence remains the same, pure, unshaken, eternal. It is not just a structure, it is a living symbol, cared for with the same love and reverence that it has inspired for generations. The Kaaba is more than stone and history. It is a heartbeat, a pulse in the center of the world, drawing millions into its orbit with a force beyond the physical. It has stood beneath scorching suns and star-strewn nights, surrounded by an ever-changing world, yet untouched by time. Wars have raged, empires have fallen, and civilizations have crumbled, but the Kaaba remains, standing as it always has, a symbol of faith, unity, and devotion. For the millions who lay eyes upon it, whether in person or in prayer, the sight of the Kaaba stirs something indescribable. It is a place where the prophets once walked, where angels descended, where hands have reached out in supplication, their fingertips trembling against its sacred walls. It is the axis around which faith revolves, the destination of every bowed head and whispered prayer, a sanctuary that knows no borders, no divisions, only devotion. Its legacy is not only carved into the stones of its walls, but etched into the hearts of those who turn toward it. Every call to prayer echoes its presence. Every pilgrimage revives its significance. Every step taken in its direction is a step toward something greater, something eternal. Long after the voices of today fade into history, long after the present becomes the past, the Kaaba will remain steadfast, immovable, eternal. It will continue to call, and millions will continue to answer, drawn not by obligation, but by love, by faith, by an unbreakable connection to the divine. It is not just a structure, it is a testament. It is not just a place, it is a promise, a reminder that no matter how vast the world may be, the heart of faith will always have a home. The journey of knowledge never truly ends. Every question leads to another discovery, and every insight brings us closer to the truth. The Kaaba, the heart of Islamic devotion, stands as a symbol of unity, faith, and divine connection. But this is just one of the many stories waiting to be explored. Stay with us as we continue to uncover the hidden depths of Islamic history and spirituality. If you found this enlightening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Islamic insights. Until next time, may peace and knowledge guide your path.